Bismillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. My name is Mustafa Ismail. I developed this application which is called Course Outcome Assessment Tool, or shortly I will call it over this presentation COAT, C-O-A-T, COAT, Course Outcome Assessment Tool. So this application basically enables teachers to perform assessment of the learning outcomes at a course level at the end of each semester. What I will do now is I will take you through the various tabs that we have in this application and basically demonstrate how you can use it effectively and quickly. So this is the application. Open here, as you can see, that's code. You can give it any name. And the first tab, as you can see here, this is the README. It just gives instructions for the user. You can basically just print it out and use it as a guide for you. Otherwise, you perhaps can revisit this video every now and then. So the first step that the user should start with is the course data. As a rule of thumb, for the whole application, the user can input values only into the colored cell. So this is a colored cell. This is a colored cell. You can basically access and change all these colored cells. So this course thing here, this course data, the yellow tab, it basically asks the user to input all information related to the course. You will see in a minute how I do this. So here you put your information wherever you belong. That's the department of blah 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 blah. You can do this, and this is the name of the unit, EMXX. You can do that, and you can write the name, say architecture or whatever, and here instructor's name that happen to be me in this case. You can put these credit hours, the number of credit hours. This is not useful for the course outcome per se, but it will be useful to do mapping from the various courses covered in a program into the program outcomes. Then here are the course outcomes that you input. So you copy and paste this from any document that you have. So for this particular course, I have from 1 to 4 outcomes, course outcomes, and you just type it or copy and paste. Like I said, for this one in particular, describe the different types of solids, their crystalline structures, mechanical properties, and applications, etc. So you put this in that sequence: 1, 2, 3, 4. You finish from this. This application also keep an eye on the program outcome which this course feeds into. So what for our engineering thing, we have at a program level, we have 11 outcomes A to K, as you can see here. That's A, B, C, D, and so on to K. So the user is required to put the link between the particular course outcome, that's number 1 for example here, and horizontally here, these are the program outcomes. So if this outcome, this one here, feeds into A, you put 1. Doesn't feed into B, just leave it blank. So for this one here, I put here, it feeds into 1 and also E, and so on and so forth. So for example, number 4, it feeds into A, and it feeds into G, I, and J. So now, by the way, you will do this only once per life for a course, as long as you have not changed the course outcomes. Well, what we have here in this domain are the data of the students, because we are going by a student. So the best way to do this, if you go to Educate, for example, you have the Educate open, say Excel export. So it will give you here Excel You open Excel, and this is Excel. So you can basically copy this range like I'm doing now. It's Control Copy. So I'm pressing Control C now, Control Copy, and then you go back to this, and you go to number 1 and say paste special values. Preferably do this rather than paste so that you can keep the colors in place. So say here, go here and say values. So now this has been updated automatically, like you see here. For this particular one, I'm not gonna keep this because I have values that I would like to continue. So after you do this, basically here you have finished from the course data input business. The next one is, in this particular case, I have 2 tabs. The one that you have, those green tabs, you probably will start with one and you can add more. What do you have here? These are the assessment elements that you are considering. For this particular case, I'm having I have a project, so I called it Assess2 project. Actually, it should be Assess1, so I can just double click on this and change the name. Assess1 project, it's just a name, and then Assess2 final exam. Here you can add as many assessments as you like. The way to do this, I'll go through it here. You can say, I'm right clicking now. Here, you can say move or copy, and then you can basically create a copy of whatever, well, creating a copy of this, so you can do that. You will see that now you have a new one. I personally prefer another method. So I just I'm pressing the control, clicking assessment project, and until I see this sheet with a plus, and then I move it further. So I can actually keep doing as many of those as I like here. So there is no limit other than the memory of your computer to basically have many assessments. So this could be quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3, homeworks, measure 1, measure 2, studio, special project you have for the students, final, obviously, and so on and so forth. So I will basically delete those because I don't need them. So for this case, like I said, I'll delete this one also. For this case, like I said, I have only 2, and I think this should be discussed within each department to basically have a consensus as how many assessments you will enter. Very critical thing here, you see here in the name, I'm doubling click here in the name, it starts with assess here. Any assessment element you put has to start with this basically letters, otherwise the program, the application, will not consider it to be an assessment element. After this, put anything you like. Here I put assessment 1 project, here I put assess 2 final exam, but you see this is mandatory for you to run the application with this being assessment. So basically you will visit the first assessment project. By now you have the list of the students came, and here you put the project the assessment name, that say assessment 1, but put something meaningful. In this case it's project for me. Again, you can only enter data into the colored cells. Outcome pass mark 70, meaning if the student achieves say 70% in this case of the outcome, you consider him to have passed this outcome in this particular assessment. So this can be 60 or it can be 80 as you like. So I'm using 70 here, again to be discussed in the department. So this assessment, it has several questions. That's a project. In this particular case, it has 6 outcomes, but I will change it for your sake here. So assume I'm starting from nothing here, so this can be basically deleted. So I'm pressing delete now. Assume that this project has only 1 question. just 4. That's question 1. The total mark for question one, as you have considered it, is either 100 or as you like. So I say it's 20 mark. And you need here to put the course number which this particular question covers. So for me, question 1 covers, say, course outcome number 1 and course outcome number, say, 3, as you can see. So now I'm done. You will put here the weight factor for this assessment, whether if it is very important, or you can say this is 0.8. With the other sheets or assessment elements coming subsequent to that, like this one here, so the summation should be 1. So this is a 0.4, just for the sake. So for the project, it's 0.4. The application is smart anyway to flex some mistakes from the user here. Here, for each student, you need to input what would be equivalent to this question 1. It has one question only. So now here, I don't need these ones. I remove them. And these are the marks that the students have achieved. You put them one by one, like that. Assume you have a sheet, and that this is only the instance where perhaps the user will spend some time, but it will be very quickly for the number of students that we have, 12, 14, and so on and so forth. For me, especially if it is when we come to this assessment to final exam, basically I can have it from the first page, like this. From the first page, you can see this of the cover page of the cover page of the final exam. So basically, you have the various questions, and I even take a photo using my mobile so that I can put quickly this, and then I can get rid of the photos later. You can do that. So let's go back to our application. So here, because we have only one question, and the question is from 20, you expect to have those from the for each student. These are the values that you have input. The rest will have to stay blank because you have only one question for this particular thing. And guess what? We're done with the assessment 1 project. You repeat it for the assessment 2 project. Here, it's final exam. So I have 6 questions. Coincidentally, I could have 7, I could have Q8, I could have Q9. I allowed here for up to 10 questions. But for the one I'm using, it's only 6. And again, you need to do the mapping here. So question 1 covers course outcome number 1, number 2, and number 4, and the rest should remain blank, and so on and so forth. So you finish again from this. And again, you have the students list ready for you. It's not colored, meaning that it has formula that you cannot access. Make sure that you cannot access this so that inadvertently you don't make a mistake. And here you put this particular student here. In question 1, he get 8 out of the 15. As you can see, that's 8 out of the 15. In question 2, he got 10 out of the 15. In question 3, and so on and so forth. So each row here belongs to a particular student. And again here, the weight factor for this assessment is 0.75. Like I said, if this one is 0.4, so you would expect this, say, to be 0.6 if you have 2 assessments only. If by mistake anyway you put this as 2, say, and put this as 1, the application is smart enough to understand that you meant actually this is 1/3 and the other one is 2/3, and it will do the necessary adjustments based on that. So by the way, and this weight factor also applies to each course outcome. So if a course outcome is listed only once, so the weight factor of this will be 1 in the particular assessment. I don't think the user should worry much about this. If you need more information about the algorithm and the formula, etc., I have a paper that you can ask me just to send it to you in detail. So now we finished from assessment 2. You repeat this for assessment 3, 4, 5, 6. I personally prefer to just use assessment for the final exam, and any other assessment in which the outcome could not be covered for any reason in the final exam, a lab, for example, or a special report. But like I said, this is something that will need to be discussed at a department level or a college level in our case. After you finish from this, guess what? We're done. So you go to the summary all assessment, you press this update me assessment, so it updates here for you. So it actually updated, you like it or not, here, but the screen doesn't update, so that we do this quickly, but it has done. And then you go to the full report. It has been generated for you. I'll come back to it. And then here there's a summary that you say press me update. You do. If we go back to this assessment summary or assessment, what you've got here is a list of each student and whether he passed or not a specific course outcome. In this example that I demonstrate, I have 4 course outcomes. So this particular student, he passed number 1, number 2, number 4. Number 20, student number 20 here, he passed all of them, and so on and so forth. Like I said, all you do is you just press this once, and then it does the calculation for you. You can actually print this as part of the report. It will come here for you if you wish to print it. If you go to page here, file, what is this? Because I use shortcut. Okay, Alt FV, just show it to you when you print it out. Okay, the full report here. The application has generated for you 2 histograms, as you can see them here. So this is the first one, that's a landscape page, and then this is the second one. So if I come here, so this histogram is the number of students passing the outcome, and this course learning outcome number. For example, for course outcome number 1, 55% of the students only pass this one. For number 2, 70, and so on and so forth. And here are basically a list of the course outcomes and their score. 55 corresponded to this 55 here, and so on. The second one here, this is for the program outcome. Remember, in our case it's from A to K, so it's telling you that this student here got this outcome is 63.8, 64% of the students passed this one. Perhaps we should add this. Anyway, and so on and so forth. And if you print this, it will give you 2 decent pages. So that's page number 1, and this is page number 2. So ready for you to basically send it to your PDF. You can just print it to PDF if you like. So that ready for you to append it to the course report that you prepare at the end of each semester. This one here, which you pressed, okay, if again print preview here, so basically it will tell you here that's a list of the questions and what it covered, and also the course information. For example, assessment name, this was project, that's assessment number 1. It has 1 question. It was 20 mark that you had allocated for this, and the course outcomes covered by this particular question are number 1 and 3. For the final exam, it's basically just a mirror of what you entered there. This way you can track whether you have covered all the outcomes or not, and what gap you've got. So you can do this basically even from before you put the students to test. So you put the exam and then you can come and check this one. Anyway, and now we're done. It's as easy as I have mentioned. And the intention is, like I said, for each assessment project, it shouldn't take more than, say, 10 minutes. 10 minutes only. So you do this during the year, it's going to take you 10 minutes. And you do the final exam, for example, going to take 10 minutes. And I am strongly against using the quizzes and homeworks in assessment like this, given that the students develop and they grow over the course. And if someone has failed a quiz number one, but did well, very well in the final, for example, so I should not penalize the performance and consider the student to have failed in quiz one in terms of the assessment. So hopefully you will enjoy this, and we benefit as a department or a college. Thank you very much. And like I said, if you have any queries, this is my email. I have another email here, and enjoy.